All right, welcome everyone to our Together Tuesdays. My name's Kevin Vogel. I'm going to be your host today, as always. And as always, I have Melissa with me. Hi, Melissa.
Hey, Kevin. Good afternoon.
And Abby's with us today. Hey, Abby, how's it going?
Hey, Kevin.
All right, so today we're going to be covering a couple new things. Melissa's going to be covering security features inside of Inscape Manage. And then
Actually, Abby's going to be covering that today.
Abby's going to be covering. I'm sorry. That's right. We did discuss that earlier. Sorry, Abby. And I'm going to be going over some identity and access management that's available in Office 365. So with that, I am going to turn it over, or at least let Abby speak to this slide, and then give her, turn it over to her, let her do a demo for you. So what do you got for me?
Thank you, Kevin. Well, we're going to talk about the security management inside of the Inscape Manage platform. You're able to see your quick security stats along as your secure score, your Azure ID identity risk events, your multi-factor authentication, password options, mailbox forwarding, as well as your server maps. So with that being said, Kevin, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
You got it.
Alrighty, is everybody able to?
I can see it. We're good.
Alrighty, good deal. So this is your dashboard in your Inscape Manage, and if you click on the security management, here is where you can see your quick security management stats. Over here in the left is your secure score. It's made up of these 5 pillars to the right of it. Your secure score is super important. I know a lot of clients like to make sure that this score improves every month. You're able to identify where your, say, identity could be super high for you guys, but infrastructure could be super low. Then you'd be able to pinpoint that maybe you need to go in and do some work around infrastructure to help raise this score. You're also able to take a look at your Azure AD identity risk events. For example, if Mickey Mouse is logging in from San Antonio and then 5 minutes later he is logging in from Barcelona, that's obviously not possible. So that would probably be a red flag for you guys. So you can go and investigate that, as well as your anonymous IP risk events and unfamiliar location risk events. Down below, we have the multi-factor authentication. You're able to see which users have this enabled and which users have this disabled.
Hey, Abby, could you make the chart bigger, please? People are having challenges seeing it, including me.
Well, mainly the older people, Abby.
Okay, don't make fun of me, sir. But thank you. Yes, right.
No problem.
If you could zoom it in, that would be great.
Okay, just give me a sec. Maybe I need to switch my screens over.
You can also make your screen bigger in Teams, for those of you, by just holding the control key down and hitting the plus sign. That will actually zoom in inside of Teams. A little helpful hint.
Alrighty, guys, is that better?
Yep, that's good, Abby.
All right, perfect. So down here, as I was saying, the MFA, you're able to see who has it enabled and who has it disabled. You want to make sure whoever is logging in is truly who they say they are before they have access to your company's important information. As well as mailbox forwarding, you're able to see who is forwarding their mailbox internally as well as externally.
So what does that mean, Abby? It means that if someone was, for instance, I was forwarding my email to somebody else inside my corporation because I'm on vacation or whatever it might be, this is where it would show up?
Yes, sir, absolutely. As well as if somebody is sharing their mailbox with somebody externally from the organization, you would also be able to see who that is and who they are sharing it with.
Oh, so if I, let's say, send it to my Gmail account or something like that, that would actually show up there under the external side?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
And then you also have your password options here. You can see how many of your users have strong passwords and how many of your users have their passwords set to never expire. Again, this is probably pretty important. You want to make sure that people are changing their passwords every now and then for security reasons. And
now there's three little dots over next to it. Does that mean I can get a report on that too? Yeah, I thought it. Okay.
Sure.
So it's a great way if the people are looking to like print out a report, maybe send it to someone, you could do it right from there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry, I keep asking questions because you're much better at this than I am.
No, questions are welcome. That's how we learn. But yeah, that is the security management.
Okay. What about, I think you said something about server maps, was one of the things that you had put on your list of things.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, Kevin. So the server maps is you can go up here to the left and you'll be able to click on it. And here is where you can see where everyone is located, what data center people are in. This is extremely helpful if a lot of people are having issues. You're able to go in and maybe see if they are all in the same database. That way you can pinpoint where the problem is coming from and maybe narrow down some options on what you need to do there.
So that's pretty cool. So this shows you actually that you have, what, 5 mailboxes on 5 different servers inside of just one data center for Microsoft.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's really cool. So when they say they distribute your mail across the United States, they're not kidding. But it also will verify that all your data is in the U.S. and not in like some, place in South America or in Europe.
Absolutely.
Now, can you see Europe or South America in this map, or is this just U.S.? Oh,
Nope,
no,
you
you can
definitely
see. Okay.
can go around here.
Right. So if you're a multinational corporation, you'd be able to go in here and see where all your mail is distributed. So if you got like GDPR, which is, all the security that you need for like Europe, this is a great way to verify that your data is where it's supposed to be. That's great. Okay. All right. Anything else there? Oh, I guess not. So I will go back and share my screen again. So give me just 1 second here and we'll go back to the presentation. Okay. Great, Abby. Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. We hope we hear more from you in the coming Together Tuesdays. You did a great job. This was Abby's first presentation in one of our meetings, so I'm glad it went very well for you. So I'm going to be talking about identity management and access management that you get as part of like the M365 SKU. You also get some of this as part of your like E5 if you guys are running the Microsoft, E5 or A5 if you're academic or if you're government. This would be the higher end SKUs that you would get a lot of this inside of here. So unified identity management, seamless user experiences, which as we all know is probably paramount. You got to make it easy for people to use so that they use it, right? The harder you make it, the less, they're going to use it out there. Secure adaptive access. So depending upon where they are. So if you're talking about, for instance, conditional access, so that, when you're in the office, it's one experience. If you're working from home or working from maybe a remote location, it's going to be a different experience that you get. And then simplifying identity governance. And again, keeping it simple for end users is one of the key things that you have to take care of. So this all wraps around Azure Active Directory. This is the core to everything that, Microsoft does from their zero trust model all the way down to identity and access. And whether it's in different clouds like AWS, Google, or Azure, whether you're working on-premise with some of your legacy applications, or if you're using SaaS applications like Salesforce or ServiceNow or any of the applications that you might be using out there, Azure Active Directory can be that one final place that you can go to set up things like single sign-on. And we talked about conditional access and multi-factor authentication. All those things that can help you secure your environment, whether it's on-premise, whether it's just a SaaS application that you're using out there, or whether you're using infrastructure or platform as a service over in the cloud. And then depending upon who's trying to access these different environments, whether they're employees, full-blown, that have a desk, that work with you, frontline workers, people in like retail. We have a lot of that out there. So, those people need different access than maybe, a knowledge worker that's working inside your corporate office. We also work a lot with utility companies that have people out in the field. They need different access than the people in corporate. And then, of course, if you have customers that you're allowing to access certain things inside of your environment, whether it be a website for them to register, whether it be, applications that you're running in the cloud. And then, of course, nowadays, the partner network has to be really strong. Being able to, for instance, use Teams to do things around your partners, share information across, the Teams environment, or even SharePoint, things like that. So all of this can be controlled right through Active Directory using the identity and access manager that's built into Office 365. So if we take a look at this, passwordless authentication, now using things like Hello, which is built into Windows 10 and Windows 11 that uses facial recognition. If you're using bio authentication, where you're using fingerprints or things like that, those are now where a lot of people are going for passwordless authentication. We talked about single sign-on a little bit, but having that single sign-on experience for all the different applications that you have out there, and then using things like the Authenticator app or different applications to do that multi-factor authentication to make sure it's really them that you're granting access to a whole plethora of applications that are available to you. And self-service management. A lot of people forget their passwords, especially as we make them change them more and more often, and we make them more complicated. Minimum of 8 characters. You have to have uppercase and lowercase, numbers, special characters, and you can't use the same one for 12 different passwords in a row. It becomes pretty hard sometimes for a lot of users forget their password. So having a self-service management portal where people can go and reset their password on their own without having the help desk involved just is going to lower the cost of managing that environment. And then, of course, like I said, the application portal where you can allow people to get access to applications that they may need to do their job. So all these things built into a single interface is what Microsoft is really going after with their identity and access management. As you can see, this is a very, very mature, very, very customizable environment for you to take advantage of with the Microsoft platform. And I don't know if you've seen the latest Gartner reports, but Microsoft, out of the 8 different security platforms that they actually rate, Microsoft is in the upper right-hand quadrant of every single one of them now. They're right up there with the big boys when you're talking about security. So don't think that Microsoft is, you're going to be shortchanging yourself by taking a look at Microsoft. Really the bottom line here is putting it all in one spot for you to manage is going to lower your costs just from an acquisition standpoint, but it's also going to lower your costs from not having to have experts in each one of these disciplines and managing it from a single interface. So if you look across what we're talking about here, the zero trust model, we're talking about strong authentication. So using things, like we talked about, whether it's multi-factor authentication, whether it's passwordless methods like facial recognition or biomechanics to do things, or these little fobs that you can carry. All these things are available to you now as part of this process that Microsoft is using. And then real-time adaptive policies, things that are configurable for conditional access. Like I said, you might not have to do multi-factor authentication if you're sitting in an office. But if you're out in, your home or out in a hotel, you're traveling, it will know that, and you'll have to do multi-factor. So having these adaptive policies first of all, keeps it simple for the end users, but more importantly, keeps your environment very, very secure. And then risk detection, using AI, using artificial intelligence now to be able to do detection, but more importantly, response to compromised accounts inside of your environment. And this is where Microsoft's really taking the lead out there for the security environment that you're seeing. So with this, if we take a look at how the endpoint and what you can do, access detection using Microsoft Endpoint Manager, this provides your compliance status. It enforces what Azure Active Directory allows you to do with conditional access. If we take a look at the resources, it will either block access depending upon whether you've met all the criteria that both Endpoint Manager and Azure AD, or it will allow you to go to the resources that you need. It will enforce MFA. It will enroll that device. So once you do this the first time, it can become now a trusted device. So it's less complicated the more and more you need to access those resources. Really a great way to keep your users from, doing stupid things, but making it easy for them to get to the resources that you need. And then, of course, you got to make sure that this is an adaptive plan. It's a plan that will automatically configure itself to make sure that its governance is in place, that you're controlling access, whether it's, like I said, HR-driven user provisioning. So when your HR department, actually you hire a new person, you're enrolling them in your environment, you can actually have HR do a lot of that instead of having IT do it. You can give privileged access to those that need it, and you can actually give them access based around a time platform or a location platform. This is where we talked about conditional access. And then, of course, you can get back reports that will enable you to know and be able to report back that you are compliant if you have to meet compliance regulations like HIPAA or FDIC or any of the ones that are out there based around industry. So it really goes across all of those platforms. So let me just double check, see if there's any questions that maybe I missed. Melissa, is there anything out there?
No, Kevin, I don't see anything.
Okay, great. Well, as you can see, we have one more for February. We're actually putting together a really nice schedule for March. I think you're really going to enjoy that. So next week, we're going to be talking about some really important things, new updates to the Inscape platform that I'll tell you is just blowing my mind. And I think you guys are really going to love the things that we're doing related to Microsoft's CSP program. We're going to be talking about the changes that Microsoft is doing with their new commerce experience. So this is a really important one for you guys to come and pay attention to. It's really going to help you. Next week, we have a really good one that's going to go more in depth about security. I only talked about identity and access. We're going to go into the full a plethora of what Microsoft Security can do. And even if you're looking for a partner to help you do managed services around Microsoft Security, I think you'll really get a lot out of next week's webinar. You can see that it's on the 23rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Really a great, we were going over the slides today, and I'll tell you, it's really a good one. I'm learning a lot, and I thought I knew a lot of stuff. So hopefully that will help you guys. Let's see if there's anything else come across. Melissa?
Yeah, no, Kevin, no questions in the chat here.
Okay, no problem with that. I hope this was helpful to you guys. Abby, great job. Thank you very much for helping me out today. Okay.
No problem. Thank you, Kevin.
No problem, no problem. And everyone have a great week. We will see you next week. Take care.